These are the different testings for how to light Hellboy. When we were exploring this is at Rick Baker's shop, and this was the very first filmed application of the makeup. We were trying to get a sense of what would make Hellboy look good and mimic Mike Mignola's lighting in the comics. We tried side lighting, filters, no filters. We tried some filters that were called enhancers that made the red more vivid. But quite frankly, if you're going to do that, it contaminates a little bit the other colors. And we found that we could do that in the digital timing in post. So we abandoned it. But here we have a cooler light on one side and a more neutral light on the other. Or we try blues. We try different types of blues, different types of densities on the straw and the amber filters. So we were trying all sorts of gels to find the right color pattern to light Hellboy. We were trying one of my favorite gels called Steel Blue. We were trying one called Deep Blue. We were trying all the straws or the ambers. We were trying neutral densities with the red filter enhancers and so on and so forth. And we found very easily that Hellboy had to be lit always to have a Mignola effect from above, or as many times as possible from above. Here we find out what not to do, which is don't light him from below, because he would look like a mask and he would look too monstrous. And also, if you notice on the makeup, we were trying to have his scar be more than texture. It had a little bit of a color there. We also got rid of that, and we changed the shape of the horns. The horns were flatter. They became flatter to match more the comic book style of horns that Hellboy has. I don't like the little skin flap around the horns, but by that time it was too late to change it for the shoot. We fought it by gluing them really tightly, but it's still there. If there is hopefully a Hellboy 2, we will get rid of that. And this is the final test where we nailed the Hellboy lighting, at least for his intro and so forth, which is from above, neutral and soft lighting, using Kinos. We were using tungsten lights, we were using Kino fluorescence to light him, and going through those, we found the right light to find the graphic starkness of Mignola. This is like a Mignola frame right there. And we were also experimenting. For example, here we have a bounce light on the right. It's being bounced, so it's softer and more diffuse, and a harder light on the left. Guillermo Navarro is an extremely methodical, extremely thoughtful guy, but he also uses these instances to, by instinct, choosing and finding, and he's a real artist with the light. We bounce ideas off each other, but at the end of the day, when the time comes to see something that is right, we almost say it at the same time like a chorus. That's it. This is one of those blue filters that we were trying. This is, if I'm not mistaken, the Steel Blue. It's hard to tell with an untimed electronic copy. But also, one of the reasons why we were worried is because red acts very weird with blue light. Look at it. Here Hellboy becomes chocolate color. He becomes almost brown or black. And what we had to go through was to go through the gels to find which of those gels preserved the most red on the screen, and which method of using that gel for lighting would allow us not to have Hellboy look like this in the movie. We also came up with the idea of what the source he could have would be. We have glow sticks and this and that. And this was an impromptu testing outside of Rick Baker's shop. And He was smoking a cigarette, and I loved the smoking so much that I wrote back the cigars, which had been written originally out of the screenplay. And this was a very telling test for me. The hardest light for a makeup is always daylight exterior. And here he is, daylight exterior. I loved what I was looking at, and this was a decisive thing into leaving the makeup for Hellboy complete and alone. This was, I think, the last set of testings, and we had some situations in the movie where we would have reflective surfaces in water, and we tested that too, and we tested a special type of teeth which had a high reflectivity. This is the only test we did with those teeth. They were molded with some 3M material that kicked back more light than usual, because in some of the Hellboy comics, Mignola draws Hellboy in silhouette, and you can only see the white of his teeth and the golden of his eyes. So we tried this type of teeth, which quite frankly photographed too fake for me, and I felt they were very distracting on the last shot. This is back to the normal teeth. This was also testing the type of red that we would use for the blood. Again, red is the trickiest color of the spectrum, and we had to find a hue of that red that would have enough contrast with his skin, not to look like water trickling out of his nose. Even then, in the movie, there are some instances in which that red it looks almost like a seam on the makeup or a wrinkle, because red eats red and all the other colors of the spectrum. But here's what we were testing. We were testing the red, and Ron was hamming it up and having a good time. This is all bounce light and keeping him sort of in the darkness. This was a test done for the introduction of Hellboy.